you being you is more important than what you can necessarily do. Because the things you do are results of who you are and the processes and habits you are as a person. So I wasn't necessarily the cool kid. I wasn't necessarily part of a lot of things, but because of that, I spent a lot of time on reflection, and because of that, I was very focused on who I was and what values I could bring and how I could help. Because I've been bullied, I've been through something, and because I know what it's like to be isolated, I know what it's like to be bullied, I know what it's like to be put down, I know what it's like to not believe in your own value. My job in life is to make sure the people around me understand their value.
But yes, hello everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're looking after yourselves. Welcome to another episode of the Student Guide. We know it's been a bit of a minute since we've released an episode. That's because we've been cooking up some cool stuff for you to find out in the next couple of weeks. So you'll have a nice Christmas surprise coming your way. But yes, as you know, on the Student Guide, we bring amazing guest speakers, amazing people doing amazing work. And I've got an amazing guest today. He's doing incredible work. And I've been lucky enough to be one of his guests on his podcast.
Amazing guest.
Thank you very much. But yes, enough about me, enough about Pick Up the Mic, enough about the Student Guide. Could we please know about you and what you do? Amazing guest speaker.
Sure thing. Hi everyone, my name is Obina. You're breaking up. But yeah, hi. So I've had a pretty varied career. I started out in operations management, worked for Amazon, then went to work in education policy at the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis in America. After COVID and all of that, they sent me back home to where I came from. So I came back to the UK. And thereafter, I worked in digital marketing for a couple of startups, after which I got into working in advertising, first as a data analyst, then as a content partnerships person. Won some, industry awards for my work in diversity, equity, inclusion. I ran an employee resource group called Wavemaker Rouge, which is focused on cultural diversity in advertising, and ran it from one person to 80 people fold. We made a number of campaigns, workshops, events, all of that throughout the advertising industry, introducing it to diverse minorities, and created a bunch of award-winning work. And I also ran public speaking workshops for my company as well. Whilst doing all of this, I also had a freelance career. My first business actually was in America, where I did Facebook ads for real estate agents, which was nice. I was getting paid for it at the time. I was like, but I realized pretty quickly that it was long and I didn't really like it. And so when COVID hit, I was just like, I'm not doing that again. That was nice for a time, but that's it. And so since then, first I started making like small websites for people, and then I got into this thing called data visualization, which is about how do we get information and complexity and make it easier for people to understand. So there are a lot of companies with just huge data sets that they've been hosting for years, and either they don't know how to hold it internally, and it's just an Excel sheet after Excel sheet, and they don't know how to consolidate it together, so we build a data infrastructure for them. But the other side is they struggle with communicating it to their stakeholders. How do you take data and make it emotional? How do you tell a story? How do you make some people care about the facts behind your business? And so I got into data visualizations, first working with nonprofits, then selling it as a product within my own company, the company I worked for, Wavemaker in WPP. And then after I realized how much money could be made with it, I was like, you know what? I want to do it for myself as well, which is where I am today, where I run a data design studio, whilst also doing a master's. But yeah, sorry, I chatted a lot, but that's a summary. Got other stuff too, but hopefully that gives you guys an idea of who I am.
That's perfect, and you're doing a lot. I don't know if people can tell. You're doing a lot. You're a busy man.
We're trying. Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to start off with our new segment, 44 questions, brought to you by the amazing Amanda from 44 Words.
Hi Amanda, thank you.
So yes, as you may know, Amanda reads through our guest bios and suggests questions for you to find out a bit more about our guest speakers through the idea of creativity, some deep questions, and Obina, it's a tough one.
Alright, let's go. I'm ready. Yeah, let's go.
The question for you is, what is currently missing in the world? And you can take that however you want to.
Empathy.
Okay.
I think as soon as empathy. Well, all of us see ourselves as the main character of our own story, which is the case in a lot of ways. But when that happens, you stop understanding or taking the time to understand that other people have ways of living and ways of working that you are not necessarily a part of. And so when things happen to you, rather than you taking your step back and understanding where it could come from, you're like, I've been attacked. And so there's a lack of empathy, I would say. And it's this lack of empathy that causes a lot of, in my view, the equitable inequalities that exist both in the corporate world and generally in society, because we're so focused on how things are damaging us, we're not taking the time to understand how we're damaging others around us, which leads to not the best decisions being made in life. And you can take that in so many different spheres, but without a doubt, empathy is the thing that I think is missing from the world.
Could have wrapped up the podcast here with such.
Thank you, everyone.
No, thank you so much. And I definitely agree. I think, like you said, like that's one of the things that, especially the main character, like everyone sees themselves as the main character. There was this video of I saw on Instagram with this guy was doing a street interview and someone like walked in front of the camera. And it was in the States, and the person who was like the interviewer said to the interviewee, like, "Oh my days, like that's so rude, like I can't believe this person just did that." And then the interviewee was just like, "No, like you don't know what that person's going through, you don't know what's in their mind, you don't know what they're thinking about." And he said this like saying like don't equate like rudeness to something that could be ignorance. So he was saying that like they might just be in their own world, thinking about their own thing, and genuinely didn't see the interview going on. So they're just like, oh, like, and if they knew, they probably would have just like walked around. And it's the same thing like when like we like pick up the mic, do like street interviews or like do stuff at events. Like sometimes yes, people walk in front of the camera, but I'm just like, it's not the end of the world, man. Like it's not that deep. And it's like we said, like being empathetic because I don't know what that person, if someone walks in front of a camera, you know, if I'm just like, hey, excuse me, like what are you doing, it's so rude, and just like kick off, I don't know what that person's going through. Like that person may have just been laid off from their job, they may have just been engaged to like whatever, like they might be in their own world, and it's just about, like you said, like being a bit empathetic in the way that we act and what we do. And it doesn't have to be like massive stuff, like it could just be, you know, I don't know, like holding a door for someone, if they're behind you, someone like does something for you, saying thank you. You don't have to do. Sometimes people feel like, especially when it comes to empathy, it has to be like big acts because that's the only stuff that's truly shows you're an empathetic person. But it's actually there's like small little stuff, especially ones where like you don't on this podcast. This is a plug to listen to that episode. It's coming out. It's coming out. Keep an eye out. Yeah. But even as we mentioned on the podcast, like we're both Christians, and like there's a Bible verse that even talks about like don't do things. It talks about like doing things and not necessarily doing it for like public praise and whatever.
Yeah.
So even if you do something, you don't then have to be like, oh, you know, I'm the most empathetic person in the world because I do this. Or like, I know some people, like, we could even do a whole conversation, an episode about it, but we're here for you today. But, you know, when people do the whole, like recording themselves, like doing like kind acts and stuff like that, and like that Bible verse always sticks to me because I'm just like, that's more important. Like, to me, even arguably like, even like we discussed it, like doing events or like you have a conversation with someone and they turn around and they're just like, hey, I just want you to know, like, you really impacted me today. And sometimes I just say that's it. There are conversations that I have, whether it's even on camera or off camera, that like I don't necessarily like tell everyone. And I'm just like, wow, man, that person really like thought. And to me, I'm just like, this is a normal Tuesday for me. For them, they're just like, no, like you like what you did, what you said, like it really helped. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
That's all it takes, just that.
And I know we have other questions to get to, but like I think that's a key point because it goes back to the character thing. Yeah, you're the main character of your story. They're the main character of their story. You were a side character who perhaps they were on a crossroads, and your actions helped them make a different thing on their story. So you impacted their story, and the thing is, you won't even know because you're just living your life.
Yeah, of course.
But that's what impact is about, and I don't know what's happened in this world that's a lot more performative about empathy. We're very good at looking empathetic rather than being empathetic. We're very good at looking genuine without being genuine. Very performative. And it's because of that, when you come across a genuinely empathetic and nice person, it's like, oh, you're trying to trick me. What's going on? Why you smiling like that? I don't like, you know what I mean? It's a common thing because you're so used to the performative nature of what it is today, and that's why it's important to be like that. And that's why, you go to that Bible verse, but even in general, in the Bible in general, it's not about what people see you do, it's about what you're doing when nobody's looking. And I've been on a panel recently about mentorship and how do you get like sponsors so that when you're whether you're in the room or not, somebody's talking about you. The best way to do it is to do things of value and of impact. And the thing is, when you're doing something of value and impact, you're doing work when nobody is looking because you have this whole full-time job that you need to do, and then you need to do your other thing as well. And not everyone's gonna see it, which means sometimes you ain't gonna look sexy. You're gonna look raggedy. You're gonna look inefficient. But because of that vision of what you're trying to do, and you know the impact because you understand the people you're trying to touch, because of your empathetic nature, your long run, you're gonna do something of value. And people won't even tell you they're your sponsor. They will just be sponsoring you. You won't even know. And then all of a sudden opportunity comes. You're like, where did that come from? These aren't things that you can orchestrate. These things come from your natural ability to be valuable and help. Again, whole other thing, but empathy without a doubt, man. Especially as business people, because at the end of the day, businesses come from solving a problem. You understand the problem and you try to solve it. Data is not the sexiest job in the world. A lot of companies need help and support, which is why they're willing to pay more money for when you're able to solve their problem. And that's because I understood the place and was able to act in it because I empathize with that way of thinking. Done. Hi.
No, I love it, man. I love it. But yeah, let's get to learn a bit more about you. So, you mentioned that you've got a journey with content creating, data storytelling. This is like a two-parter. I will say for a lot of our questions, they tend to be two-parters.
That's
so
okay.
if you need anything repeated, just let me know.
Sure thing.
But what inspired you to get into this journey of content marketing, data storytelling? And the second part is, how do you merge creativity with analytics to craft meaningful narratives? Because as you mentioned, data can sometimes seem as like this very like, you're looking at spreadsheets, you're dealing with like, you're coming up with pie charts and pivot tables and all of this stuff, CRM. So how do you merge the two, so that creativity aspect with analytics, but not even just like merging it to like make a nice like fancy looking report, but like you're crafting these impactful, meaningful narratives through the work that you're doing?
Okay, I love this question. So the reason I started this actually goes back to, I think it was when I did the IB, so for my sixth form, you do A-levels. I did the IB, it's called the International Baccalaureate. And one of the courses that I did there was in geography. I love geography because I love learning about the world. Like, I call myself a nerd, but I'm a charismatic nerd. I love learning, I love this stuff. And my goal in life is to make a career out of my nerdiness. But there was a specific class in geography where they were talking about inequality in the world and using things like the Human Development Index and using that to chart the world and see what perspective that gives to us in terms of how global operations work. And there was this gentleman that did this presentation. He's also done a TED Talk. His name was Hans Rosling. He's a statistician, Swedish guy. He's dead, but he was a cool guy. I have his book. And he did this amazing presentation using data viz. So he had these charts at the back of him, and he was talking about he was charting death rates or birth rates against GDP. and it was making an GDP is gross domestic product. It's one of the ways that we measure an economy's economic ability to create money, essentially. So GDP, gross domestic product. You guys probably knew that, but I'm saying it anyway. But he was charting them against each other. And if you went back as far as 1985, most of the world was actually at the bottom corner of this chart, right? Okay. Or UK, Nigeria, we're all poor, we're all hungry, and all of that stuff. And then you let the timeline run, and as you go through the years, you see there starts to be a separation. Okay. Western Europe starts to rise because of stuff like the Industrial Revolution and all of that. Things get to increase. Wealth, you start seeing a wealth disparity in the world. And then you have this major drop around 1917-ish, 1945. Why? Because there was a world war. World War I, World War II. Everyone dies. Birth rates start to get up again as we recover, and the world stretches. As the world stretches, you start to understand something. These countries that were once here are now at the pinnacle where they have a high wealth and a high standard of living. But then if you break them up, all of a sudden, if you break up China, the northern part of China is living like I don't know, Luxembourg, but then the southern part of China is living like Ghana. If you break up parts of Ghana, part of Ghana is living like Sweden, but other parts are still like Zimbabwe. Disparity isn't what we think it is. The world isn't what we think it is, and the data shows over time, generally speaking, all across the world, life is improving. We're living longer, we're dying less, where wealth is more present. Yes, there's disparity, but we're a lot better today than we were 20 years ago. He was one of the first Eurocentric thinkers that actually made the case that Africa isn't just poverty and flies. I'm not sure if when you grew up, every single ad out there was like, say you're a child in Africa. And then there'll always be this one fly that just lands on their eye, on their nose. It's just there. And then I did secondary school in Nigeria, and guess what? Yes, there were flies, but they weren't as prominent as it was led for me to believe. In fact, there's actually a lot more to the story of development than what it was. And so he was the first Eurocentric person that made that argument, and he was taken seriously. Why? Data. And that made me think, okay, I want to learn this thing because it can change perspective. And it's not just me telling you emotions, telling you, no, I promise you there are rich people. That is me giving you numbers and facts and telling you, listen, the narrative is better than it looks. That alone is an example of how data can be used to tell a story. But that was why I got interested in it. I worked in content and partnerships, which isn't exactly content creation. It means that I align brands with publications. So, I can align stuff like GE Healthcare with CNN or Bloomberg and all of that. We create a bespoke content package where we can create a documentary series or a motion graphic series or a web experience or a live experience or whatever. It's all about how do you create a content package to send a message at scale. That's what content partnerships is all about. And within that, I was working with a specific client. I'm not going to name them here, but they had 2.2 million, and they were trying to use media in order to share a message about their new innovation that they were doing. And they wanted to be seen as thought leaders in the space and wanted to be known as people who make impact and all of that. They had a lot of information about it, but they were like, people get bored of data. We don't want to do it. And we said, okay, so let's come up with an idea. And one of the ideas that we had was they were actually very innovative in thinking of technology and how it can be used in life. So they did this project, for example, having a mobile network running up in space. So they worked with NASA to do that. They did a lot of really cool technology stuff. And so we created a bespoke series using their data to create innovation within different communities. And so we did like this huge series with a large publication to do this. Boom, campaign went out. They spent around $250,000 just on data viz. And then the rest went into media. Okay. And so that one told me money, way. And then 2, data can be used to tell a story.
Definitely.
It just depends on how you think about it. So one of your questions was, so I think I've given some examples of how data can be used. But the main point here is data is not just about facts. Data is about a reflection of how the world and society is working. It's now my job as a storyteller, as a creative, to then tell that story in a way that lands and hits with my audience. And there's so many examples of that. There's a story called Hello Ella, which is talking about air pollution in England, and how the rate of pollution is so high that this young girl called Ella died before she was 10 years old because she had an asthma attack due to the fact that where she lived and was born in South was just full of pollution, that her lungs weren't able to be created in a way that allowed her to breathe and all of that. And it was a pure data-backed story, but we made it personal through this Ella experience. And it's stuff like that that actually, led to stuff like ULETs, right? Because now we understand we need to make the London environment a more breathable space because our kids will die. Simple as that. If you don't have access to healthcare and you don't have access to private healthcare, because sometimes the NHS waiting lines are like 3 years long, right? What do you do? And so that was a great data story that was done by Beyond Words Studio. So stuff like that. You can make a lot of really evocative story backed by data, having data be the hero. I chatted a lot. I think I've answered both of your questions. Okay.
No, I definitely agree, because I think as when I was doing my undergrad, like that was the one thing that like we said as a class is that you can talk about climate change till like the cows come home. You can say like climate change is impacting people. It's gonna change the planet. It's gonna do this, but people sometimes are just like, why should I care? And it's just like, oh, you're showing me like a graph that shows that like the temperature has increased. Why should I care?
Yeah.
So like you said, it's always about that story that you're telling, and even arguably like our lecturer did a really good like point with us. He was just like, oh, like I'm not even gonna say now I know what the global temperature is of the world, but he was just like, he asked everyone like, what do you think? Like you're being told like, oh, the global temperature can't increase by like 1.5 degrees. Like if it increased by 1.5, yes, we can still like change things. But he was just like 2 degrees was really bad. He was just like, do you know what the current global temperature is? And everyone was just like, I don't know. Like for me, I was even just like, well, I know room temperature. Like I'd wage something around that, and he was like, no, actually, like global temperature is around like I think it was like 13 or 14 degrees. I don't know if that's the case now, but he was just like, so even he was just like saying, even like you said with the data, he was just like, people are telling you that like, oh, a temperature increase is like pretty bad, and then was going on like that point. So yeah, I definitely think that that's like a key narrative to like. So I think it's really key, as you mentioned there, that like the narrative that data can tell, and allowing yourself to not think, like you said, like data isn't needed, especially I think like you mentioned from like a business aspect, that like data isn't needed to justify, oh, you've identified a problem, great, what are the stats? Because you might be like, well, heck, like we'll talk about, we have a mic check, which these guys know is like a fact figure, relates to the conversation we're talking about. And we have one that I'll mention later on because it links into one of the questions, but arguably it's like, if I say, oh, students have a hard time at university, if I'm then going to like an organisation to say I need like funding or sponsorship or whatever from you to support that, they'll be like, okay, cool, but like, where are you getting this information from?
Yeah, where are your sources?
Where are your sources?
Yeah.
Arguably it's the same with like when you're doing like uni projects, like you have to cite where you get this information from. You can't just turn around and be like, hey, you know, like the sky's blue, like, you know, you got to find
my heart tells me 5%.
So I definitely agree that is like you said, that highlights the importance of connecting those two things. But yeah, we're going to go on to the next question, which is, can you share a project or story? I mean, you kind of have, so if you want to go on to the next question, we can.
Okay.
But this question was originally going to be, can you share a project or story where data visualization helped uncover a compelling story or create an impact? I feel like...
This is Ella, yeah.
Okay. So we'll jump ahead. To the next question, which is, what challenges, so this is specifically about your data design studio, Info Studios. So what challenges have you faced while building the studio? And how do you stay authentic to your vision?
Challenges is when you mention the word data, people get scared. People get scared, and it's a mix of stuff. I don't understand it. It sounds like a lot, bro. It's kind of controversial. I don't know about data. All of that sort of stuff. So some of the challenge I face is just purely education, purely like demystifying it for people, which is part of my job. So that's a common challenge that I faced. And the solution to that challenge is creating as much value up front for people to show my ability to make things easy for them. Because data is just a term. Data is marketing. The same way people find this controversial. AI, in my view, is just a marketing stunt because it all comes from machine learning. There's no such thing as pure minds that computers have. They all work on past data, past information, and using models, they then make an educated guess about the future. But none of it is turning something from nothing to something, which is a purely human attribute. So all this AI stuff, to an extent, is pure marketing. The term data and the way it's used, in my view, we're falling under the negative part of marketing, where people are now thinking, oh my gosh, data is this big thing. Really, it's just information, man. You filled out a form, it has your name, your last name, that's data. You have a birth certificate, that's data. We're chatting right now, it's recording, it's data. It's just information. And it's a matter of how do I go about communicating, how do I go about understanding, how do I use this information to make my processes better. And so we organize like data literacy workshops and stuff like that to help companies feel better about data, feel more like they can touch it and it's more tangible to them. And then from there, we can upsell to say, hey, we can do something too for you. But data literacy teaching is like a huge way of solving the problem. And a lot of people are willing to learn. People love learning. That's why I enjoy being a nerd, because I love learning too. And if I can facilitate you learning and I can learn with you, and then I learn about your industry, and then I can learn how data applies in your industry, then I get a lot out of it as a practitioner, and you can use it for your advantage. So it's a win-win situation. How do I stay true to myself? How do I stay true to the vision? That's been an interesting one because, there is what makes you money and then what fulfills you. You're lucky if those things align, but sometimes they don't. And as a startup, I would say we've been running for the past year and a half. I still say we're startup. I think if we run for 3 years and we're having that high level of profitability, then I'll call myself like a running business. But until then, I'll call myself a startup. Staying true to oneself is like, for example, building data infrastructures pays a lot of money. A lot of companies are willing to do this, especially if I can automate it and then do reports to them. To some extent, that is the crux of my business. But what I want to do is create learning opportunities, right? How do we use that data to educate people about STEM, to educate people about the environment, to educate people about the reality that Africa isn't as bad as people think. That doesn't mean it's completely fine, but like everywhere else, it has problems, and data can reveal that. And so what I've kind of done right now is I'm adopting a model. I'm literally trying this since last month of saying, okay, this is our revenue driving projects and these are our impact driving projects. And we make sure that our revenue driving projects take up like 60 to 70% of the time, and 30 to 40 is going on driving impact. That way I can work with nonprofits who have a lot of data but can't afford me. I can say, okay, fine, let's figure out how we can drive impact with you. And so we'll turn that into a content campaign. We'll turn that into something that it gives me value because content, and I get well known, and it gives them value because we're creating something for them. And that's how I've kind of figured out how to be true to myself, to understand bread needs to be paid, I need to be paid, I need to after, but also I want to make impact. And so that's how I've gone about doing it. And I find it funny because when leading the employee resource group at Wavemaker, that's literally the model that we tried without even thinking. Yes, we have clients who are willing to pay millions on media. How can we then use that to empower the community that we're trying to get them to consume our products through public speaking workshops, through media training, through giving them access to events like Cannes and all of that? How do we, you get me?
Yeah.
So we're kind of using that model and then putting it into the business.
That's incredible, man.
We're trying.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's really good because I know my mum does. So my mum runs a business called James Raphael Consultancy. So it looks like data protection. And literally, like, I know exactly what you mean. 'Cause she's just like, the people that get like why data protection is important, why data protection is important. But then when you're just like, oh, like so and so is just like, oh, I'm actually like want to expand my like I said, whether it's to learn, whether it's because they've had a few concerns from their own data stuff, maybe the I forgot what they're called, ICO, but do you know what the ICO stands for?
No.
This is what was Information Commissioner's Office. So in the UK they do like all the data protection stuff. So if you have to register for like as a data controller, data processor, all of that stuff, like sometimes people might get like contacted about that. And, they might not, or like maybe someone like is just oh yeah, I've seen that you haven't registered, or I can be your data processor. So they might be like, oh well, should I go with this company because I'm not sure about their services or whatever. So I know like she says it's just like how do you like it's that getting people to understand like it's really gonna help you to like develop and grow. And like emphasizing the point that like there's nothing wrong with like not knowing everything about data. That's perfectly fine.
Well, that's my job.
Yeah,
that's why you hire me.
It's just about like being open to like understanding that like okay cool, I might not know it, but I'm gonna hire you to do it, and you're not giving me advice. Like you're not gonna like push me around or like let me not cuss any specific careers so people don't come for me. But like some people say like I'm getting charged more for like suggestions, or like sometimes it can feel like I might as well have just asked ChatGPT this because the answer I'm getting is not to the level of my standard. Like obviously that's not the case with you. What you're doing, it's like no, like we're going on a journey, we're going to tell a narrative. And one final thing before we go to the final question is I really like how you emphasize the like revenue and impact, because I think sometimes when like people have businesses, they're like it's one or the other. So I'm either like working on the revenue side and I'm just selling stuff and that's going to be like my business, and then eventually like once we've got loads of money we can decide what we spend it on, we can then like focus on our impact. Or people feel like it's the opposite, so it's like okay, now I can only focus on the impact that I do, and I can't necessarily focus on my services being like broader and all of this stuff. But it's actually possible to have both, and having both, and like you said, like adjusting the priority of if you think that like based on, it also depends on the size of your team and stuff like all that, but like if you feel like you can do like you said like 60 to 70 is like focusing on like the revenue generating side of your business, and 30 to 40 is the impact side, then that allows you to just be like okay cool, so like you said, I mean this organization may get in touch with me to work with them, I'm not going to charge them my normal rate, or like I might not charge them at all because I know like they don't have a budget for that. But I know that there's a clear impact that this is going to have, so let's work together and see on the impact that this could have for your business. This other company may get in touch and you'll be like, actually, I know you can afford to pay me. I'm not going to let you push me over. Like you're still, that's not to say that you can't have an impact, but that's to say I know that this can like help you grow. So yeah, I definitely agree. It's an important thing to think about when it comes to your business, is those two things kind of.
Absolutely, because like when it comes to business, you're as an owner, your main job is sales. What can help you make a good sale, right? So word of mouth is strong. If I show that I'm able to make a massive impact with this nonprofit, and it gets so well known, that is a lead magnet for me to get my next client, for me to say, hey, look, I did this stuff with them. It made a huge impact. These are the numbers, these are the stats, Wouldn't you like some of that? Exactly. Yeah? You don't need to know they didn't pay me, by the way. You don't need to know that. You just need to know that I worked with them. You don't need to know that they didn't pay me. All you need to know is that's what the results are possible. And if you want some, you get it.
Yeah, definitely agree. We come to the last question before we go on to passing the mic, where you will get to ask me some questions. Cool. I think it's an important one. Links to our mic check. So our mic check for today's episode comes from the British Computer Society. So it says that only 4% of data professionals in the UK are black, highlighting that there is a need for representation and diversity within analytics, and particularly when it comes to linking analytics and storytelling together. So, based on your involvement with community initiatives such as BYP, or for anyone who doesn't know, that's the Black Young Professionals Network.
Yeah.
How has your involvement in those community initiatives shaped your approach to well-being and embracing authenticity in your personal and professional life? Tell you, man, we get deep on this podcast.
Okay, say that last bit. Say that the last bit. How does it work?
How has it shaped your approach to well-being and embracing authenticity in your personal and professional life?
So, okay, I'm going to talk a bit about how I got in, and then I'm going to talk about the answer, and hopefully something of value will come to you. So, I studied economics and statistics in uni. I studied economics because my mom told me you're going to study economics, therefore I did. I studied statistics because I was interested in data and wanted to learn how to use it. Within all of this, I realized learning how to code was very important. And so I taught myself how to code through watching tutorials and through just practicing. Somehow, by God's amazing grace, I got a software company role where I was working as a software developer for this organization called Software for Good. To me, that was the benchmark of the type of company I want to make. And it was funny because they were like, hey, coding experience. And then I went up there, I rocked up to that interview. I was like, yo, you know what? I don't actually know how to code. I learned some stuff online, but you know what I mean? We go by faith. And the guy hired me. I was like, well, okay. And then after I got hired, I was like, bro, why did you hire me? And he was just like, listen, you were just very enthusiastic. I want to give you a try. Why not? That company taught me a lot about my coding basis, but more than that, it showed me that you being you is more important than what you can necessarily do. Because the things you do are results of who you are and the processes and habits you are as a person. And they were willing to invest in who I was, and I was able to produce something for them. And since then, we've had a great relationship. And who am I as a person? I'm a community-driven person. Everywhere I've been, I've always been part of a community. And the thing is, I'm quite, like I said, I'm a nerdy person, right? That also means I wasn't necessarily the cool kid, right? I was a little chubby guy who I was twerking by walking. My cheeks were just like that. I was jiggling all over the place. No one could stop me. And I was a black boy as well. I liked theatre. I was loud. You know what I mean? But I wasn't the most well off. My swag was plimsolls. Nike what's? Plimsolls. That's me. Yeah. So I wasn't necessarily the cool kid. I wasn't necessarily part of a lot of things, but because of that, I spent a lot of time on reflection, and because of that, I was very focused on who I was and what values I could bring and how I could help. Because I've been bullied, I've been through something, and because I know what it's like to be isolated, I know what it's like to be bullied, I know what it's like to be put down, I know what it's like to not believe in your own value. My job in life is to make sure that people around me understand their value. Hence why I be part of communities, hence BYP and all of that. And especially in the analytics world where it's a bunch of people who are taught, put your head down and don't do anything and just focus on the work. We need to learn that we don't just bring operations to work, we bring personality and we bring self. You need to raise your head and speak and learn your voice, because some people don't actually know their own voice, which is what a lot of our workshops are about, teaching you how to take ownership and learn a bit more about what you can say. You don't need to be the loud, charismatic person, you know what I mean? Everyone has their own speaker profile. You could be the quiet person who, the one time you speak, makes a difference. You could be the chatty person who, you're not necessarily saying the biggest and maddest things, but people love having you around because you're a hug around the heart. And then you have the people who are the shouters and charismatic, and they do their thing too. So you need to learn yourself and know yourself. I learned myself and I knew myself, and I understood that my value is understanding how I devalued myself, how I now see value in myself, and I want others to raise themselves up as well. And so that is what drives me a lot within all of my work. That's why I'm into storytelling and changing narratives and all of that. That's why I do BYP stuff. And so the community stuff kind of enforces who I am as a person, and hence when I sell myself as a business, as a professional and all of that, people buy into me because they understand that I am more than me. I'm an impact and I'm a movement by God's grace. And so they're willing to invest and at least try me out. The worst thing that can happen is that they're going to get a jiggy boy who twerks while he walks and is nerdy about random stuff. But does that answer your question?
And I think even like there's two things I want to highlight from what you said. I think one comes like again to like a spiritual point, because there was this really interesting sermon. This great guy, his name is Bobby Schuler. He does these things. He does like a weekly sermon called Hour of Power at the church on a Sunday, but they upload it on YouTube so you can check them out. But he said like it's really keeping that. I think from like a faith aspect is very important, but also if people who maybe aren't Christians, it's still very important as well. But he was just like, God is more interested in who you become than what you accomplish. And it links to what you were saying there of with the interview, people are more interested in who you are as a candidate than essentially even if you've got every skill required on paper. Because there are people, like you say, that like have all this, like they exceed the job requirement. They are like on paper, they're the best candidate. And come to the interview, people are just like, yeah, you can tell this person that is not interested in this job at all. They just want it for maybe the name of the organization, maybe the pay rise, whatever, but they're just like, I can tell this person isn't interested. And arguably, like, reminds me of, funny enough, the job that I've got at Somerset House, like, for that interview, one of the interviewees, for my first interview, turned around and was just like, hey, look, like, I don't mean to be, like sound harsh or, like, rude or anything like that, but I just want to know, like, why are you applying for this job? Because they were just like, oh, like, if you, like, look on paper, you've never done, like, supporting, like, businesses, like, yes, I've got obviously done pick up the mic and stuff like that, but, like, through a, like, working at an established organisation, I've not done that. And I just told him, like, look, I was just like, hey, look, I'm a black business, like, there's two aspects. I said, through Pick Up the Mic, I've always loved to, like, help, like, I like helping people, and Pick Up the Mic's been giving me a really unique opportunity to, like, showcase resources, connect different people together that I know will do great work together. But I said also, like, I'm a black business owner, so if I'm on a program that's supporting black business owners, I'm like, I know even if they don't necessarily know everything that they need, I'm like, I know at least some of the things that they need. So I'm like, I've got this unique experience and knowledge that comes from just like being a business owner, and especially within the creative industries where funding isn't always as clear, there's not always as many funding opportunities, sometimes they're very limited or small budgets, but I've been able to make a business work from like being in that space. So I think for me, sometimes it's just like we said, like it's just remembering like the type of person you are is what gets people through the door. It's the type of thing that leads to like organizations wanting to work with you and to meet with you, and it's the type of thing that means that people want to mentor you and jobs will want to hire you. It's never because of like you being like a bad person or whatever or stuff like that. It's like, no, like you are a great person, I want to hire you because of it. And yeah, one final thing to say on this, I think I mentioned it on previous episodes, but the first, not the first ever job I got, but the year placement I did from undergrad, so the person who was my manager, she was on the interview panel, and so in my head, all that happened was I went to do the interview, I thought it went well. On the train journey back, like the fastest I've ever heard back from a job, she tells me like, you've been hired, do you want to work with us? And I was like, yes. Then afterwards, we were just talking about it. I think it was maybe like coming to the end of like the first maybe 3 or 4 months of working with her. And she was just like, she was telling me, she was just like, do you know why like I hired you? And I was like, no, I don't. And she was just like, I'll tell you why. Said, when you came, like, she was like, I'd done a lot of interviews, and that's not to say, like, any of the other candidates weren't bad, but it was a long day. I'd seen, like, it was just, like, very much repetitive, like, nothing was necessarily standing out from it. And she said, you know the first thing I noticed about you? And I said, what? She said, as soon as you saw me, and you, like, were going into the, like, I said hello, and interview hadn't even started, but I just saw you, came over, shook your hand, she said, you just smiled. And she was just like, that smile, like really, like I had a long day, a lot of interviews, I was just like, oh gosh, it's almost done. And she was just like, as soon as you smile, like obviously like I did well in the interview itself.
You could do the job.
I could do the job. But she was just like, yeah, like, you smiled, you made jokes, like you were very receptive, and she said that just showed the type of person that you were. And she said like if it was up to me, I would have hired you, like obviously like for HR purposes, you can't just like be like, yeah, this person's getting hired, like. But she was just like, yeah, if I ran the company, I would have hired you straight away because you just. Like that showed me that first interaction showed me your character and showed me who you were. So with all of that, to just basically say to people that never forget that you can never make a second first impression. So whether it's interviews, whether it's like talks, whether it's like you're looking for like sponsorship, like that first interaction you have with someone is what's going to be in their mind of when they think about you. And if that is like you said, like you're applying for a job and you're just like, yeah, I don't really know what I want to do with my career, and arguably you can be honest like that, but I think it's like you said, like you can express, even if you don't know what to do, don't necessarily go and just be like, I don't know what to do, and like I'm just here for the vibes, or you got a nice salary. I have been told through my the career advice team from my university said that sometimes they have heard people like have said that in interviews, and they're just like, why did you say you were only interested in the salary? Please
find a door. Please find a door.
Because I'm just like, but it's about like you said, like just being like, oh yeah, I'm really interested in the company, or like I really love this area of work, or I've been supported by people in X. So like even arguably like that job, I said I've been on programs that focused on promoting like STEM with young people. So I said I went to St. George's, I did a residential with them. I knew like, even when I went on it, I was like, I'm not that interested in the medical field, but I was like, I wouldn't mind to learn, like when am I going to get this opportunity again? And I said, that really impacted me. Yes, I didn't go on to do medicine, but I said, I got to go to a university, I got to stay in university halls for a week, I got to learn about like that field, and I was just like, when's the next opportunity that I'm going to learn about that, or I even go to that university? So for me, I was just like, yeah, I've seen the benefit it can have, and people might not necessarily think, oh, because I didn't go to St. George's, like that program didn't impact me. I was like, it got me interested in STEM. It got me thinking about like what other aspects of STEM I could get involved with, and like you said, it allowed that like creative expression and learning to come through. So
like, okay, two things I'm gonna add to this. One is first impression is very interesting. So when I was leaving the US. There was a job that I just got an interview for, and I was leaving anyway, but I was like, you know what, might as well just do an interview. So I rocked up to the interview. I was 10 minutes late, and I was walking in, and there was this table. 3 of them were just sitting at the table, and they were just eyeing me as I walked into the room, and I was just smiling like, hi, and they were just like, you were 10 minutes late, and I was like, yeah, no, I had some issues parking, but I'm here now, let's have a conversation. And I just went into it. We ended up talking a lot just about life. We barely spoke about the job. And then at the end of the interview, they were just like, you can do the job, right? I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, cool, bye. I didn't think I got that interview because I rocked up late. We just chatted about life and about their goals, how they got into marketing. So it was a marketing role for, they're an energy company based in Minneapolis. And so I was doing a coordinator role then for marketing and events for them. And so we just ended up talking about energy. And we talked about I was super into energy at the time, so I was talking about like solar panels being planted in parts of northern Minneapolis. I was talking about how hydro is going and all of that. I was just talking about energy and all of that. We just chat. And then the end, we were just like, so the actual role, we need to talk about that. Can you do it? And I was like, yeah, it's calm. I've done stuff like that before. They was like, okay, cool, bye. Okay. Didn't think I got the job. Just thought we had a nice chat. I got a call 1 week later. They want to hire you, and they want to increase your base salary because they felt that you were overqualified for the thing. I was leaving the country, so I didn't take the job. But it comes to the part, yes, even if your first impression isn't the best, because their first impression of me was this late boy waltzing up into our thing being all giddy. But because of the level of conversation and enthusiasm and my understanding of what I was going into, they even thought I was more experienced than I initially came in. And so they were willing to do that and even increase the salary. So I will say this, know what you're trying to get into and know your why. Because as someone who has hired and fired people, so let's come from somewhere else. I've managed teams, I've hired people, I've fired people, I've given people probation, all of that. As someone who's trying to hire you onto my team, one of the first things I'm looking for is, one, do I even like this guy? Can I work with you? Well, am I gonna get pissed off? 2, competency. You need to be able to do things, but most things in jobs are learnable. You can learn most skills. So that's not the biggest thing in the world, especially if I'm hiring for a more junior position. You can learn. I'm not too worried about that. So I need to like working with you. You need to be hireable, and then energy needs to be there. Because jobs aren't sexy. There are going to be days when it's boring AF. Are you going to come to this job, get bored, and duck out? Because I'm trying to grow my team. I have forecasts. I have levels I'm trying to get at myself as a manager, because you also need to understand that I get evaluated based on my team's performance. And if my team is performing under par, then it's not they don't get blamed, I get blamed. Right? And so I need to make sure that I'm operating in the best way possible, both through me and the team that I'm working with. And so as an interviewer, I'm looking for energy, I'm looking that you know the job, and I'm looking for just like, do I even like working with you? And so have that in mind as you're going to jobs. I'm not sure the levels that you are, everyone who your audience is, but certainly as you go up the chain, your personality matters more, because there are less regional director roles than there are analyst roles, which means you're competing with a larger pool, and you're going to need more internal buy-in to get the job that you're looking for. So people need to know about you. You need to have done excellent work, and then you need to be someone who people actually want to work with. And that's what's going to allow you to climb the ranks. I climbed the ranks quite quickly in my company. You can do that too if you have those things. But yeah, those are my 2 points there. So just be thinking about that as you go to whatever career, even business that you're going to.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
No worries.
We're going to go on to passing the mic.
Yeah.
We will, obviously, there's only one mic between us, so there's no physical passing. But I will now be interviewed. So yeah, please let me know what questions you would like to ask.
Jeffrey, you said at the beginning of this interview that I'm doing a lot of stuff. You sir are also doing a lot of stuff. How do you go about focus?
Honest answer is sometimes it's like all over the place. So there are some days where it's like I've got like a strategy to pick up the mic. I'm like, this is what we're working on this week, or this is what we're working on this month. Sometimes, because like you said, like I do different things, sometimes it's just like, sometimes reactionary. So sometimes I might be like, okay, cool. I've got this video that I want to do, or I've got this recording. Okay, let me think about this, and this. And then I'm really like, oh yeah, you know what, for this other project, I need to do this. Or, oh actually, there's this photos that I need to edit. So sometimes I might be like, so the biggest advice that I would say is it's about like strategizing your day. Mental health is really important to us to pick up the mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, and start your journey today. I think when it comes to focus, it's about finding that like strategy that works for you. So sometimes it can look like we said, like automating stuff. So I said the biggest tool that, especially with like content creation, because this was something I didn't actually originally know when it came to YouTube, was YouTube like 10 years ago, or even like 15 years ago, you couldn't upload video content like in advance, so you couldn't schedule it to be released in advance. It was literally like, it's coming out today, like whatever time. So I tell people like, if you are like, now that Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all these platforms allow you to schedule your content, because you might be like, oh yeah, on Tuesday, there's this video that's coming out, I'll remember to like post it, but then Tuesday might come, other things will pop up, and then it's Tuesday evening, you're like, oh gosh, the video I was supposed to post, do I post it now or do I just wait till tomorrow?
Literally just went through that today, because the video I was meant to post, it's a long one. It's okay.
It's one of those things where it's just like, the more, like I tell people, like just balance it out. So like think about if there is certain content that you want to like schedule it. Obviously there is some stuff that, I don't know, like if you, I don't know, like you might go to an event, so there might be like a reactionary post because you went to the event. So that's why I'm just like, there are some stuff that you can't like pre-schedule. But if you know that like every week, I don't know, you post one motivational like video, then record something, like even if you record it like 2 or 3 in a day, because also I think sometimes people feel like that. They feel like, oh, like I can't like do batch content. If I upload different videos in the same outfit, like, it doesn't look good on my feet. And I think it depends on what you do. I guess it's like the pre-content.
Most people don't care.
But yeah, most people don't care. If I'm watching a creator and they're talking about something and they're wearing the same outfit that they did for the last video, like I'm like, okay, like you just recorded. I just now know you recorded your content all in one day. Fair enough. I do the same. So I think I tell people like just don't know what does. Yeah. So when it comes to like staying focused, it's just like having that schedule, planning out your stuff, and then I think finally just like learn to delegate. So like what you said like about a team, I think for me the biggest thing was so we had 2 interns over the summer. One of them both of them didn't have experience in like videography, but one of them was a videographer. He had a lot of experience in like photography. So I started off by telling him, okay, look, here's some like content we shot at different events. Create a video from it, like a short summary video, and then he did. And I was like, cool, these are my comments. Then I was just like, cool. There's this other person on the team, they know how to use Premiere Pro. Speak to them, learn, like do a walkthrough of Premiere Pro with them, and then let's go through it. So they did. Then I went through a walkthrough with them about some stuff that's useful through Premiere Pro. Then I said, okay, cool. I want you. So it's one of those things where on the day, I told him so we came to work and I was like, look, today we're going to do something a bit different. You're going to shoot an episode. So we did like some gaming videos. So I said, I'm going to give you the gaming clips. You're going to come up with a script. You're going to edit down the the clips, include what you want. You're going to match up the audio, and you're going to create a video from it. And you're going to send it to me by the end of the day. And he's like, I don't know if I can do that. And I was like, look, let's see how it goes. If you do it, great. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. Let's figure out why you weren't able to do that quick. He did, and he was just like, cool, I've done it, it's been really good. But it's just like delegating that work, because if I had just been like, no, like I'm gonna keep everything because like it needs to be a certain standard and all of this stuff, like I then just end up getting overworked and overstressed. But if I say, hey, you know what, I know I can't do everything, so I'm gonna let you do this because I know also this is like an area of competence for you. I'm gonna let you do this because I know you also like this is stuff you can do. Yeah, then it just means that like you have time to just like relax and have that, like you said, like have that time to actually dedicate like a permanent strategy on the stuff you create.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Delegate and prioritize.
Yeah.
That's basically what I got from you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't know.
I don't want to spoil anything because obviously answered a lot on your podcast. I don't want people to get.
Yeah, no, I mean, check out the other podcast. It's called The Departure. How did you find my podcast? As someone who runs a podcasting company, how did you find our podcast?
I really liked it.
Yeah?
Well,
You're not just saying that for the camera,
yeah? No. The camera come about to be like, right. No, honestly, it was really good. I think for me, this year's been like, so this year was the first year that I'd ever been invited onto other people's podcasts as a guest. So it's been really nice to see how like different people do podcasting and then giving them advice on like how they do it. So like one person, she recorded it through Teams and then would record it on her phone. So because she didn't want like both of us to be like speaking at the same time, anytime she was agreeing with me, she would just like say it on her voice note and then she would like match up the audio and do all of this stuff.
That's a lot.
And I was like, this is a lot of work you're doing. I was like, do you know about like Zencaster, Riverside, and I said like you can use software like this and it'll just like make it so much easier. And I said they do have free plans that you might not be able to record as much, or it might come up with like a watermark. But I was just like, it also depends on how many times you record a month. If you know you're only doing one recording in a month, and your recordings are usually like I don't know like an hour, most of them will give you like an hour for free.
Mm.
So for me it's really interesting to like see how different people record. One of them was in like person, and she had never done like a video podcast before. So I was like, look, I've got a space that I use. I was just like, why don't you come to the space? I'll book out everything. I'll technically be the one managing the recording, but it's your podcast because you'll be interviewing me. I'm literally just making sure all the equipment is working.
Mm.
And then she did, and that was fun. So it was like interesting for other people to like learn about. So for me, it's been great to like share that knowledge. But yeah, I really like the podcast. Like, it was good. It was really great. The question got me to think a lot about like what I do and stuff like that. And definitely, it's been interesting to like reflect on the journey of the the last like 25 years. So yeah, man, I really loved it.
I'm glad you did, man. You're the plug, man. Because I want to try video podcasting at some point. But I kept telling myself, don't do it yet. First, get comfortable with a few. So you were the 14th episode.
Okay.
So I wanted to do a few more before I started investing in the video because, it's money. Because I have to get a space and all of that. But thank you. Glad you enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
What platform should creators aim for now in the world of social media?
Like podcasting or like in general?
In general, what do you think is the best leverage for a creator in today's world?
I think the obvious one is like TikTok. I don't post on TikTok enough to say I understand TikTok, but TikTok is one where I've seen like even like my manager, she's not like a content creator. She's literally just recording herself talking about like stuff. Even like a friend of mine, she does the same thing, and they get like a lot of views. And then I think like my manager was just like, oh yeah, I got like 20k views on this video, and I don't really know why. And I was just like, well, maybe we should start thinking about ways that this could possibly get monetized, because if people are generally, and she said like it's not like every video gets 20k views, but she said sometimes it's just, so he said it's funny, the ones that she like plans out don't always get those high views, but the ones where she's literally just like walking on the street and expressing how she's feeling, they're the ones that like boost. So I'd say TikTok's definitely a good one.
Okay.
I think if you do longer form content, YouTube is like the best place to be, because YouTube, like someone like there was this page that did like a post on Instagram. They were just like, YouTube is really like as a space, it's really interesting because it dubs as a traditionally what it is, like a space for people to like watch videos on stuff, but it's also technically now like a masterclass space because you can basically learn anything as long as someone's made a YouTube video about it.
Fair enough.
It's also a platform to showcase your business. You don't have to pay to upload to YouTube. You don't have to. YouTube has audience-wise, YouTube is like. I would like to say at least 1 million, but if not millions of like.
Yeah, it's the second most used social media platform.
Essentially, it's that, and they like open open up stuff, like they've opened up stuff that it's now expanding. So there's this page that I recommend for people to like, if they're especially thinking about getting into YouTube, it's like a great space to be on. It's called vidIQ. But they share on their platform like what changes happening to YouTube. So they were saying apparently YouTube is not like, this was a while ago, so I don't know if this is going to happen, but YouTube were allowing creators to set up YouTube playlists as masterclass courses. So if you do, so YouTubers do like a video of like, oh, I'm going to teach you like from A to Z on like how to...
I think it's still going because I've noticed some creators, they started doing these how-to series all of a sudden. A bunch of them started doing it. I was like, wait, you do explain about what you did. And I'm like, I think it's a trend now. I think it's just a thing. They're like, how to start YouTube in 2025. That's going to be the next YouTube. So how do you go? Like Marcus Brownie, he started doing a series about making videos.
Nice.
Not sure people know Marcus Brownie. He's like this tech YouTuber, one of the OGs. He's got like something billion people following him. And he started doing a series about how he makes videos and all that. All of a sudden, I was like, bro, what's going on? A lot of people are going into the teaching space, actually, the course space, because there's money in one. But like, everyone loves to learn. That's why Nerdy Chris, everyone loves to learn. So if you can teach someone something, they're gonna like it. Just teach it the way they like to be taught.
And 100%. And that's why I tell people, even like obviously like masterclass and like BBC Maestro and stuff like that.
They know what they're doing.
They get like, it's a paid platform. Yes, they get like big celebrities or big names in the industries writing stuff. But I think the biggest thing that people highlight is there's nothing to say that the people that you're watching on YouTube can't give you that same input.
No, your average Balaji, who just happens to be an analyst somewhere, can tell you a lot. You know what I mean?
And like people, and I tell people like these people, like especially like for example, as we sort of like with what's happening today, like we've got like different cameras and stuff. But there are YouTubers who say, okay, cool, you've got a budget of $100. You want to get a mic, cameras, like recording software. This is what you need to do, or like this is how much you should spend. And these people have sometimes like their job is to like try and test this out.
Yeah.
So I tell people like bear that in mind. Like you don't have to go and spend like hundreds of pounds on like different cameras being like, oh, this is actually rubbish. Like I can't do anything with it because I can't return it now. So I've got to just tough up and use it. No, like there are YouTubers that say, okay, if you want to create on YouTube, this is a good beginner camera if you've never used a camera before. If you know how to like customize cameras, exposure, like autofocus, all this, manual focus, like ISOs, all of this stuff, like this is the camera for you. If you want like the ultimate like best camera, this is for you. If you have like all of this stuff, if you want like the simplest camera where it's just like shoot point, records in 4K, gives you loads of customization, this is for you. And I think people tend to forget that like these people will give you like for a lot of them, even arguably not just on YouTube, there are articles that do it, but they'll be like cheapest version, best, most expensive, and then recommended. And it's like, okay, cool. So now I know if I just want to do this, and like I don't want to commit to this as a business. I just want to like put my feet into this. This is what I can start off with, and then once I've maybe like started to use this, I'm getting a bit more like interested in it. Maybe I'm even getting paid for it. I could maybe go for like the recommended, and then if that's now bounced off, this equipment's like I'm trying to like expand my equipment repertoire so like I can do more than like one thing. Then you can get the most expensive, and then you can like showcase that breadth. But yeah, for a lot of people, I think it's just like YouTube. I think TikTok, Instagram are places that people shouldn't avoid being on. I think for whether you're a business or you're creative, like whether you're a business or you're an individual, they're both great places to showcase you. I think longer term, YouTube will become like a place where, and I'm not saying like, I know obviously like when it comes to podcasting, people feel like their life like has been like sucked out because every like 5 minutes it seems like every new celebrity, like every person on the planet is like coming up with a new podcast. Yeah. But I've told people that, and like a lot of people that do podcasting say that actually no, if you look into podcasting, like not every podcast that gets started is still around today.
90% of them stop at episode 10.
Do you know what I mean? Even
this is an actual fact, you guys. 90% of podcasts stop at episode 10.
And it's not even just like sometimes people think, oh, like I can't do a podcast because I know like this big celebrity doing the same thing. There are like bigger podcasts, whether they're from like YouTubers, like actors, musicians, like that. Some of them have just like shut down. They don't like. Maybe they still have the episodes out, but they're not producing new episodes because this is like to them podcasting may not necessarily be their main revenue. A lot of them like podcasts in general did start up through the pandemic because obviously people have more free time. But now as things have eased up, like people are back to busy schedules. So I tell people that actually no, like even if you do look and see that, I don't know, like Joe Blogg's got like a podcast that you want to do, don't feel that you can't get into long form content or you can't even, like even if you don't want to do a podcast, you just want to do like a YouTube, like you talking to the camera. It's like, don't feel like you can't because someone's talking about the same thing as you. So I think those three platforms, I think Instagram and YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, definitely be on, especially for short form content. I think YouTube for that, like for all three, so for short, medium, and long form content, YouTube is like a place where you can just utilize that, like all three of those things. And then it means that like when you're posting, like the fun thing I'm saying this is, it means when you're posting, like you don't have to, so like on YouTube, you don't have to post like a long form video every week. You can be like, okay, this week I'm gonna upload like 3 YouTube shorts. Next week I'll upload like a 15 or a 4-minute clip from this episode. The next week, or like I'll do a 4-minute clip and then I'll do like 8-minute compilation video of different things I've spoken about through that like previous week or through that month even. I might even do a roundup of what happened that month. And then you might turn around and be like, oh, finally, for this next episode, I'm going to do, like for the next week, I'm going to do like a 45-minute like deep dive into something. Cool. And then you might be like, following week, I'm going to do a live stream. So there's a lot of like flexibility in it. But I think if you want to, I think there's 2 things. If you're an individual, LinkedIn and TikTok, great places to be. Instagram and TikTok, great places to be. I do think LinkedIn is important. I know that there are people that are just like against LinkedIn. They feel like it's like a self-glorified like promotion service because people are just talking about their successes and stuff. But I've said maybe
so is everywhere.
But exactly, and I also said like maybe you could be the person that's just like man, like it's actually like.
There are people who make posts about how annoying LinkedIn is about LinkedIn, and they get thousands of views, and then afterwards they're like, oh, I'm a LinkedIn support. It's funny. Like, but in the end, what is Instagram? It's the same thing. People get tired of Instagram. It's all talking about how perfect everyone's life is. That's how people felt about Facebook as well. Everyone's just chatting about, it's just it's a reflection of society. But aligned with you, that makes a lot of sense. You've heard it here, folks. Well, the only thing I would say in addition is that TikTok and Instagram, in the long term, their business aim is to be a shoppable platform.
No, definitely.
Meaning they are trying, yes, they create content, but in the end, they're trying to become a store where you watch content and then you buy off them too. Because there's a lot of profit in there. And I'm not just chatting about this. Like, I work in advertising. Their sales reps literally tell you what they're trying to do, and this is literally what they're trying to do. So if you're someone who you're making content and your goal is to eventually sell products, whether that be beauty stuff, shirts, whatever your product is, know that your presence on the platform in the long run is a good idea, because eventually when it has some shoppable features, they're going to push you more than they push others, because you'll be able to utilize the shoppable features more than others. So keep that in mind as platforms grow.
Yeah, and I think one, because when you mentioned like shoppable features and like making content for that platform, it reminded me that like, I don't know if you, are you on Snapchat?
I'm not. I'm sorry. You guys,
No,
it's an age limit. I'm sorry. I know Snapchat is a big thing, but I'm like, I remember when it first came out, and I'm sorry, I can't go back.
Like the reason why I mentioned it is
I'm young, but I feel like
I know what I mean. Like I haven't used it. I haven't used it for a while, but like what surprised me, I told my sister they were making on Snapchat. They were making video content exclusively for Snapchat. So Snapchat was like hiring actors to like make. So some people were posting like they're like not their full length like 5-minute YouTube videos, but it'll be like maybe like a 2-minute video cut up into like 1 minute like of the segment pieces. But yeah, like this was definitely before COVID. Like they were just like posting like like they were coming up with their own Snapchat original shows. And I was like, but this is not what Snapchat is for. Like I'm just here to like flick through content, and now you're telling me if I want to watch a show, I should sit here for like 10 minutes flicking through Snapchat. And I was just like, even arguably, and that's what I like about LinkedIn, and I think you can do it on certain, like if the TikTok post is long enough, you can do it. Like when posts allow you to like go move the like start time.
Yeah.
Because like with that Snapchat video, you couldn't do that. So if you watch like, I don't know, the first, I don't know, like 2 slides, and then maybe like you're stuck. And then if your phone like restarted, you might be taken back to the beginning, and then you're just like, now I'm gonna have to like keep pressing, and obviously it does it in like 1 minute, so you're just like, snap, like hit your phone, you're just like, nah, you're not. If it's on YouTube, watch on YouTube. That's not what I mean. So yeah, so I guess that's a good point to mention as well. But yeah, we're gonna go on to the MC of the month. MC of the month, as always, is an organisation of individuals doing incredible work to support you guys. And I think one key one to highlight is BYP Network. So as mentioned before, the Black.
Oh, you're joking?
No, I kid you not, man. He did that. We, like, as always, the guests don't know who the MC of the month is. But yeah, they do a lot of incredible work to advocate for essentially like young professionals. They create spaces for you to connect, to attend events where you can like meet industry professionals. They do work to help you improve your own, like we mentioned here, getting on LinkedIn. They can help you with that. They also have a platform where you can connect with, what the name of the platform?
Javelin.
Yeah. But you can connect, like, sort of like, I guess, would you say it's their version of LinkedIn?
Yes, yeah. It's like the BYP internal LinkedIn. We have a number of opportunities from our partner organizations on the platform for you to get access to. And the great thing is that they come in directly from the organizations. A lot of times when you're going on jobs on LinkedIn, honestly, it's already filled. You've seen 100+ applicants. It'll be hard to stick out, but because we have direct partnerships with the organizations, we take you straight through it. And we also have an AI within it, so that way you're not just getting random jobs, you're getting jobs aligned with your CV that you upload onto the program. And that also has a number of growth tracks as well. So as you grow in your field, you get better jobs for you that are suited to your skills. So get on Javelin. It's a great platform, a great opportunity for you, and of course you get to chat with other people in the network too. Just to say as well, BYP every year, at the beginning of the year, we have this event called New Year, New Network, because it's about meeting new people at the beginning of the new year, and you never know who you might meet. You might be me, you might meet Jeffrey, you might meet Oprah. That's a lie. I don't know, but you could. One day she rocks up. What are you saying, man? So come to New Year, New Network. It's a fun time. We have fun games, drinks, food, actual food, not grass. I'm tired of these networking events.
You know what?
When they tell you it's food, and they give you cucumber.
I learned yesterday. People saw like crisps, popcorn, stuff like that, and then people just like, Herbert's gonna be like food. And I was like, look, don't worry, food's coming. They got Wingstop in the end. So people just like, so you mean like actual food?
We need to clarify.
No, I genuinely said, because I'm just like, if anyone puts like, unless you put like snacks, if you're saying food, I'm not even expecting a 3-course meal. No. But like, have pizza. Chicken wings.
Have something, you know? Like, a lot of people are claiming grass and then saying food.
And especially no, I was going to say, because these events are in the evening. You might be like, okay, cool, so...
I did not eat. I'm anticipating that
this was going to happen.
Wow.
And then you're just like, okay, so when you said food, you meant like, I'm going to have like Walker's Crisps.
Nah.
Okay.
Give me food or give me freedom, okay? Anyway, come through still. Yeah, nice one. BYP. I'm the London chapter lead, so I help with events in London for them too. So
maybe for you guys a potential person to get in touch with.
Yeah. Follow my LinkedIn.
We will be plugging all the ways people can connect with you just a bit. But yeah, we now come to the fun segment of the episode, which is been great, man. I've honestly enjoyed it, and I'm sure these guys have as well.
Yeah.
But as always, we ask our guests to give us a takeaway message. So, what we've spoken about a lot today.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. But it's been, I think one of the things that like has been really apparent is it's not even just like anyone wants to get into data, but I think as a both as a business owner and as someone who's like got maybe at the start of their career, maybe they're sort of like looking to change their career, or maybe they're like trying to grow within their career. There's a lot of things based on what you said people should be aware of. So based on all of that, what is the message that our audience should go home with? Take home with?
Hi audience. Hi, it's been a great time. Thank you for being here. You're still here. God bless you. As you used to make plantain chips. Points. Maybe it be fiery, maybe it be spicy, maybe it be sweet. And if you don't like spice, I'm sorry for mentioning that. One thing I would say, we need to be bad before we can get good. A lot of people skip processes in the belief that they want the outcome, but don't realize there's a reason why there's a process in place for you to get that outcome. And it's hard to say because it's also embarrassing a bit, right? Like, you don't want to be seen as not good or embarrass yourself and all that, but in order for you to climb a mountain, you need to start at the bottom. The reason why is because you need to grow with every step you get. There's a higher altitude up there, there's less oxygen. You haven't trained your lungs to be able to take that capacity, you're going to get to the top, you're going to die. You need to develop and grow, which means you need to take the steps one thing at a time. So be okay with being bad, such that in the long run you will get good. And it's hard, especially when we're talking about LinkedIn and Instagram, right? You just see the best parts of people. But trust me, like that actor that you love and all that, there was a time they were forgetting what they were doing that on stage. At one point in time. Ed Sheeran, people were just like, Ed Sheeran is a talented guy. He showed a video when he first started doing the music, he would go, he sounded like that. But now he's good. Yeah. Embrace the journey, be patient, your time will come as long as you dedicate yourself to your craft and to your process. So be okay with being crap so that you can get good.
I think even one of the final things I mentioned about Ed Sheeran is so I don't know, like his first album he did was when I found out about it, and he was saying even arguably like when he was doing music then people were just like they were cussing him out, and people were saying like look at him now, like he's performed across the world, he's booked out stadiums, like people love him with him.
Ginger and all.
And people say like the fact that like even obviously like there was a song that he did with Stormzy about Take Me, I think it's called Take Me to London, or Take Me Back to London. That song apparently, I don't think Ed Sheeran was supposed to. I think Ed Sheeran was
from London.
Yeah, he's not. But so apparently he was supposed to sing. I think he was only supposed to sing the chorus. They were gonna have. Don't ask me why, but it was gonna be Stormzy and Jay-Z were gonna perform the verses. And then I think Stormzy was the one that told the story. And then
I've heard this, yeah. And then Jay-Z was doing it, it was like, actually,
he's like, it doesn't make sense. Like you're not from the UK. Obviously not from the UK. You're also not from London. But then Edge stepped in and was like, and he was like, I know Ed raps. He's like done it before. He was like, let me give it to Ed. And like people love that song. People were just like, I think like I said, it's interesting he's not from London, so it's kind of like funny in that aspect. But people were just like, no, it's really cool. Even like obviously I was talking about it with my sister. My sister was just like, imagine he said in a song, I forgot what it's called, but I'll still remember my name, but in the song he's just like, oh yeah, I want to play a song, like I want to have a song with 50 Cent and Eminem, and on that song, he's got both of them performing. So the first time I heard that song, I didn't even know they were in it, so I was like, can I imagine Ed Sheeran and 50 Cent and Eminem on the song? And then when I heard 50 Cent, I was like, okay, so he got 50 Cent, I was like, and then when I heard it, I was like, damn. So literally in the song, they're saying that you want something to happen. I was like, that shows you where, like you said, like when you just keep working and stuff, like.
Because in the end, this life is a longevity game. It's not about a quick pop-up. It's about 10, 20 years later, are you still doing the thing? And that's why we need to be careful of the temptation of instant gratification, the temptation of, let me do this quick. And I get it, because a lot of us come from a place of not having, and so there's an addiction into becoming someone who has. And I get it, because I'm there too. But when 10, 20 years go by, you're not going to be saying, how this person came up quickly. You're going to be like, did you last? Because that's actually the better definition of success. Not how quickly did you do it, but did you last when you got there? Because there are a lot of people who get into positions they are not prepared for, and they suffer for it. They don't talk about it, but they suffer for it because they weren't ready to get there. Take your time, go through the process, get good, and then take your place. Because that way, the place is made for you, and no one's going to move you. Build your foundation.
I'm gonna start preaching in a minute, man. That's what we're doing.
Wait a minute, except we won't build a house. Someone for you to, I don't know, anyway.
No.
But hopefully that's a good takeaway.
That's incredible. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there.
Nice
It's been great speaking to you.
Yeah.
Man, every conversation, I come out with my cheeks hurting from all the laughing and smiling. And I come with new knowledge. So honestly, man, thank you so much for coming on. This is where shameless plugs. Any episode you want to put out, how can people connect with you, anything like that? This is your time to put it all out to the audience.
Okay, cool thing. See, just a recap. What was it? 5 years ago, I was on my first ever podcast. It was when I was in Nigeria. Because I was helping a startup there, and this guy was just like, "Oh, you came from America, you're in Nigeria, let's interview you." And then we did the interview, and at the end he said, "Okay, what do you want to plug us with?" At that time, I had no social media, I had no nothing, so I was just like, "I don't know, here's my email." And I gave this guy my email, he just looked me up and down and said, "This is boy." But wait, that was what, 10 years ago? It was a long time ago. So ever since then, I was just like, okay, when I get asked this question, I always tell us whenever I do an interview, I actually take real appreciation of this because I remember when all I had was an email. But yeah, LinkedIn, Obina Iwuji, that's O-B-I and then I-W-U-J-I. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's actually my biggest platform. It's where I mainly do my content. Also on Instagram under Nerdy Charisma. Just a plug as well, I'm working with some amazing people to study auroras, the northern lights. We're taking the data of solar waves as they hit the planet and touch the magnetic field and create the auroras. We're taking that data and we're creating an experience out of it next year. We're working in collaboration with the National Observatory. So it's going to be a really fun one. We're making it a show. I told you I moved there, so it's going to be a fun time. So stay tuned for that. Follow the Insta so you can get more information on that. We're also currently doing a campaign to support girls in lower income countries with sanitary pads. I'm not sure if you have a vagina. Am I allowed to say that? But people with them, they tend to have periods. And they tend to have periods, in case you didn't know, which means that they're in need of sanitary pads in order to take care of that. But in some places in the world, these products are not cheap. It's already not cheap in England, especially with the recent tax implications. In other countries, it's even more expensive and it's of a lower quality. Which means the cost of having a period, of being a woman in the world for some girls who don't have the finances is a lot more expensive than others. And so we're working with a number of organizations across Sub-Saharan Africa in order to get donations to support these girls in getting sanitary products. We're doing a major piece of research with Euromonitor. So look into follow to learn more about that. And again, empathy, right? I don't have a vagina. And it's even, I say this word a lot specifically, and I'm sorry if it hurts your ears, but I'm saying it a few times because as part of this research, I had to confront the fact that as a man, I am not empathetic to the experience of a woman because I don't go through it, simply because I don't have this, organ. And so I need to normalize that language because if I should one day have a daughter and she goes through a period, am I just gonna look at me like, well, you have that, you know what I mean? So I have to get used to the language. Sorry if it's jarring for some people, I apologize, but that's where it's coming from. But we need to be empathetic to other people's experiences. And I am not talking.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you to your wonderful audience for coming back. If you like this episode, like always appreciated.
Yeah.
Please make sure.
Don't go just because I said vagina. I'm sorry. I said it again as well. I'm sorry. You should allow me, man.
YouTube. I think YouTube only cut off your video if you swear within the first 5 minutes.
Is it? Oh my god.
I'm sorry. If you want to know about more episodes or like keep up to date with what's coming out on the Pick Up the Mic YouTube channel specifically, make sure you click the notification bell. Finally, next if you want to see some perks, some merch, get some benefits, please do make sure you subscribe to either our Patreon page or the YouTube channel membership all down below. And then finally, very finally, if you want to learn about, we keep saying it in every episode, but if you want to know about our other channels, maybe you're interested in sci-fi and anime, sci-fi, fantasy, anime, gaming, then we have 3 separate YouTube channels set up that are for you. We have Pick Up the Controller for our gaming enthusiasts. We have Sci-Fi and Fantasy. For Sci-Fi and Fantasy lovers, we have the 2 Maces, Joshua and Morgan. And finally, we have Senses and Anime. We will have an anime event either have come out before this episode or coming out. So keep an eye on the space. But yeah, we're going to close this chat to the student guide. It's been great having you all with us. It's been great speaking to you, Obina. And yeah, keep an eye out for the next episode where we will see you shortly.
Bye.